Today we're going to be talking about TBRs, Twitter, and then the Book of the New Sun. But not necessarily in that order, because I'm actually going to start by kind of doing a wrap up of late May/June, in which essentially was the Book of the New Sun. If you follow my channel, you know that I recently posted a review of the Shadow of the Torture, which is the first book in the Book of the New Sun tetralogy. And you know that it became my favorite book of all time. And I have seriously been obsessed with the Book of the New Sun since I started reading Shadow of the Torture, along with a podcast that accompanies it called Alzabo Soup, which is like a chapter by chapter breakdown of the story that really adds another layer of depth and honestly just fun to this book that has so many layers to it. Both the Book of the New Sun and this podcast are amazing. I cannot recommend them highly enough. And I haven't enjoyed a story this much since probably Harry Potter, since I discovered Harry Potter as a kid. That is the impact that this book has had on me. But I'm coming to this bittersweet moment because I'm about to finish up Citadel of the Autarch, which is the last of the 4 books to the Book of the New Sun. And I'm already like mourning the ending of this story. I'm already bracing myself for the impact of being done with this adventure. And it's kind of made me start to think ahead of what I'm going to be tackling next. And I've kind of realized that this book is one of those books that changed who I was as a reader. And everybody reads books that impact them more than others, that truly impact them and who they are as a reader, as a writer, or even as a person. And for me, these books are really easy and they stand out very vividly in my mind. So Harry Potter was one of them, Stormlight, Dune, and then don't make fun of me or anything, but as a kid, Aragon and Wizard's First Rule are also books that changed who I was as a reader and kind of set me on a different, that they had a much larger impact on me than other books I have read. The Book of the New Sun is one of these books for me. It has changed my taste. It has changed the way I approach books. It has impacted me so much. And as I'm coming to the end of this book, I start looking forward and towards my next ones, and I look back on the TBR list I made, and I realize how much that TBR has changed from my original purpose of the channel, of my original goals as a reader and what I set out to do. When I started the channel, I really wanted an education on fantasy and science fiction. I wanted to get this education by reading the stories of the past. I wanted to read the greatest writers of all time in this genre. And what I've noticed as I've gone through is I've kind of strayed away from that a little bit. I'm a huge mood reader, and I've kind of let my mood and then the popular books of BookTube kind of take over my TBR list and what I've currently been reading. And that's not to say that I haven't still been pursuing my original goal. I've been working on a list of notable science fiction and fantasy works throughout history, both of ones I've read and ones I'm wanting to read. Books that I think are important for someone who's trying to become well-read in science fiction and fantasy to read and to be able to talk about, discuss, and have a better education on what the genre holds. And what I've realized is that this is essentially what my original channel's TBR list would basically look like, but I haven't been making it a priority here on my channel, or at least not as much as I wanted to. So as the Book of the New Sun is finishing up for me, and I was looking for my next one, the changes the book's had on me has kind of like forced me to refocus and kind of re-establish what my TBR is going to look like. And really, I'm going to pull books from 2 places. The first one is this list of notable science fiction and fantasy works I've been creating across history. When I combine this list with like the Libby, what's available on Libby, and then the Audible deals that I am always on the lookout for, that I talk about a lot here on the channel, it makes my TBR look something like this. On the Libby app, I've got one already checked out and ready to be listened to, and it's The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. It's one of the most spoken about and recommended science fiction books on this channel, like out of all the science fiction books to be recommended to me, this book is probably the number one. Also on Libby, I have the first book of Earthsea, Wizard of Earthsea, also by Ursula K. Le Guin, but that's got a 10-week hold on it, which I want to point out is impressive that a book this old with many copies in the Libby app still has this long of a wait. It really goes to show you how popular Le Guin is even today, even though this book was written so long ago, that there's a 10-week hold on this book right now. They usually don't last the full 10 weeks, so I imagine I'll get it a little bit sooner, but those are the two books I have ready to go on Libby. But if for some reason I finished The Left Hand of Darkness before Earthsea was ready, The Wizard of Earthsea was ready, I do have books from that TBR through history of fantasy and science fiction in my Audible library ready to go. So Elric is an option. I've had that for a while now. I talked about how I was actually planning on reading that after Conan, but Conan didn't vibe with me so much that I really didn't want to touch anything sword and sorcery for a minute. But this has steadily been growing to the top of my TBR pile. And then recently I watched a video with on the Fantasy Network of where he reviewed Elric and really stoked that fire to make me want to pick up this book and read it again. He talked about how it was kind of a response to Conan. So I'm really eager for this book. It's in that fantasy, in that historical fantasy list I've been trying to read, one of the greats of all time. And honestly, it would, if I was still going off of my mood, it'd probably be the next book on the list. It's one that that has been on my mind for a long time, and it's finally feeling like the right time. But a few others I have in my Audible library ready to go that is on that list of greats in the past is Jurassic Park, A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, A Color of Magic, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the first Rune Lord book, and then H.G. Wells' science fiction collection. And honestly, my interest in these books, like what I'm in the mood to read, probably follows that order pretty closely. But since I am both using Libby and Audible to kind of pick and match which books are available to me at the time, and what books are on my TBR list, matched with the fact that I am a huge mood reader and will continue to go off my mood, even if I do have a little bit different priorities. I'm going to be using my new Twitter account that I created literally a few days ago to kind of keep things up to date. I'm going to be posting when I start new books, and then I'll probably be doing at least a weekly progress of what I'm reading, where I'm at, and my thoughts on it on my Twitter account. So make sure you go and follow that account if you're interested in seeing and being like a little bit more up to date with me. And then also, if you want me to post those updates on the YouTube channel, let me know. They won't be in video format because videos take a little bit too long to make, but I can always put it in that chat place on my channel page. So let me know if you're interested in that, and I can consider doing it on here. I just don't want to bombard people's YouTube feed with that. So let me know if you're interested in that. If not, I'll just continue to do it on my Twitter, and you can choose whether or not you want to follow me there or not. And like I said, there's two places I'm going to be pulling books from. And one of them was that list. But the other one is going to be coming from a new segment I'm making on the channel called Hidden Gems. And the premise behind this new segment on the channel is that I've noticed that the people I follow on BookTube primarily go through the same couple books, except with one or two outliers. And of course, this comes probably from the fact that their tastes are very much my tastes. And that's why, when all of our tastes are kind of the same, we're kind of drawn towards those same books. But I'm still wanting to read things that maybe aren't getting as much attention, but are really good books. Or maybe just review some books that don't get as much attention, and they're not the greatest, but let's still talk about them. And then if you're trying to decide to read the book, you have something to go off of. Essentially, it's a segment where I talk about less talked about books. And there's for sure a ton of overlap between this hidden gem segment and my historical fantasy science fiction TBR list. A Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court is one of these books. It's a very well-known book that is impactful to the genre, written by one of the most notable authors of all time, but one that I don't really see talked much on BookTube. So here's one of the spots that it overlaps, of where a book on my historical reads is going to match with my hidden gems read. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is another one, a classic that I don't see talked about much on the BookTube channel, except in passing when maybe we're talking about science fiction books in general, great science fiction books in general. Even John Carter, which is a book I read last year, I don't see mentioned much in the BookTube community. In that book, I don't think I really gave it the credit it deserves. Like, it was amazing, and when you look at how old this book actually is, it's kind of mind-blowing to see the impact and how great this book is still today, and the impact it has had on our culture. Superman, for example, is essentially John Carter in reverse. He's got a lot of the same powers John Carter is, except instead of an Earth going to Mars, he's a alien coming to Earth, and he's got a lot of the same overlaps as John Carter. When you look at Star Wars, you can see so much of George Lucas's inspiration for that series in the John Carter books. So there's a lot of overlap between these two. But besides the historical side, I also want to do books like Green Rider, which I see in bookstores all the time when I go into, and the cover has drawn me in, but I've never really explored it much more than a surface layer glance. Dwarves is another one of these books that I see in the bookstore all the time. I just haven't heard a lot about. So I'm going to read these books for my Hidden Gems segment and kind of talk about them and see if they are hidden gems or maybe they're duds, and that's the reason they're not talked about on BookTube. But I'm really excited for that segment as well, and I will be pulling books and creating my TBR based off of that goal in mind as well. But yeah, just to wrap things up, I've got a new Twitter account. Go ahead and follow it if it's something you're interested in. The Book of the New Sun, I've had an amazing time with, along with the Alzabo Soup podcast. I want to keep shouting them out just to give them a little bit more publicity, because the pair together literally like changed my view on reading and books and like my outlook on them. And then my upcoming TBR is going to be based off of my lessons of historical fantasy and science fiction, and then also my hidden gems segment that I'm going to be creating on the channel. And the next few books coming up are probably going to look something like The Left Hand of Darkness, Earthsea, The Wizard of Earthsea at least, Elric of Melnibone, Jurassic Park, Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court, and then maybe a few more, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I don't know, this is where me being a mood reader is going to kind of take over, and then whatever's available between Audible and the Libby app. So thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe if you want to get notified when more videos drop. And until next time, I hope you're out there reading great new stories and exploring cool new worlds. And until next time, I'll be back soon. Thanks for watching.